Hello, hello, hello. How are you, Liz?
I'm good. Now I've unmuted myself.
You look like you're back at home. I haven't seen you at home in a little while.
Yes, I managed to escape from the office.
I love that.
Yes.
I love that.
Yes, managed to escape. So I'm hoping to have a quiet week after about 3 or 4 weeks of complete madness.
Madness.
Lots of stuff happening.
Very good. Well, I'm looking forward to our catch up.
Yeah,
Hey,
no,
Mugs. Marguerite, what time is it where you are? Is it 9 o'clock at night? It's okay if you're doing a million other things and you just call to listen. That is no problem at all. Just going to let some more people in. Hello, hello, and welcome. So let me give you the rundown. I have been a Business Made Simple coach for almost a year now. I got my certification last November, and every 2 months, Donald Miller himself runs a brilliant live coaching, and it's always on at 2 a.m. or 1 a.m. And I always want to attend, and I always have good intentions of turning up, and then life happens, and I think there's no way I'm setting my alarm for 1:45 to get up and watch a class at 2 o'clock. That's not happening. I'll get up and speak at that time, but I'm not getting up to listen at that time. I'll just fall asleep in my chair. And so when Business Made Simple were reaching out to all of the certified coaches and saying, how's your experience been? What's been working? What's not been working? What can we do better? Which of course I love. Any organization that seeks feedback is always good. And I said to them, look, these opportunities that you have are just not available. They're just not workable for Australian coaches. And there's several of us now here in Australia. There wasn't when I first joined, but there is now. And so they said, well, how about we make it available for you so you can set your own Australian friendly time and then make it happen. And so that's what they've done. This has been the first one that has been scheduled since they made it possible. Margs, I'm not sure if there's any New Zealand coaches. I'm assuming there would be, but the funny thing about getting my certification was, of course, the training was all in the middle of the night. And so I went to a hotel and I, really fully immersed myself in the experience. And there were 2 Australians on the call, and the other one just happens to live 2 hours up the road from me in Coffs Harbour, which I was like, what are the chances? Too small a world. So I'll check it out for you, Mugs, and see if there is. But, of course, you're always welcome here in Australia. And yes, you absolutely could. So this is the very first opportunity we have to have a shared experience where Donald can talk you through the process and we can do it at an Australian friendly time. So every 2 months we're going to be doing this. They change the topic depending on what they are implementing in Business Made Simple at the time. Now, I know, Liz, you have a subscription to Business Made Simple, which you can access. And Margs and Keandra, if you don't, then please shout out because I can always hook you up with one. And the content in there is so great. Mugs, you do, fabulous. The content is so great and it's always changing and they're always updating it. So there's always an opportunity for more learning. And before they usually put out a course, they always have a coaching and a live coaching like this. So I'm super excited to share with you what everybody else got to experience in the States a couple of days ago. But the idea is we work our way through it. If anyone has a question or wants to stop, we can stop because obviously they're not actually there. And we can have a chat about the things that they're talking about. We can share our experiences. You can jump in the chat and let us know how you're going. Don't feel like you need to keep your camera on. Of course, if you want to shout out, go ahead and you are welcome to. But if you are pottering around and doing other things, feel free to take notes. Feel free to ask me questions in the chat if you have any questions. And
go on Instagram and open up Business Made Simple and comment on our latest post if you have a question, and then we will DM you. We'll bring you into a Zoom room and you get to talk live with Tim and I. Okay, let me ask you this question. Does everybody on your team feel like they are wearing too many hats, including you? Does everybody feel like they're wearing too many hats? If that's a problem that you have, what you need is a management and execution system, one that is not hard to implement, that gets everybody on the same page. Does everybody know what they are supposed to do, and are they getting clear feedback on if they are doing it well? I'm not talking about a meeting that you have once a month where you talk about what we're going to do as a company, and then you kind of set everybody free, and you come back, you meet the next month and ask how you did. You know, the cadence has to be much quicker than that. We really need to meet with people, and I know you're going to hate this, we need to meet with them every single day. Short stand-up meetings that keep us going. That's the only way people know what they're supposed to do and are able to get real-time feedback on whether or not they are doing that well. What we need in order to accomplish that is a management and execution system. Too many businesses don't have a system or process in place to help them successfully manage their team, and it is costing them. You know, I think it's costing you significantly in terms of revenue, in terms of serving customers well. Another place that it's costing you is your morale. Team morale goes down when people aren't exactly sure what they're supposed to do and they don't get feedback on what they're doing. If I don't know what I'm supposed to do, listen, I'm probably never going to come to you and say I don't know what I'm supposed to do. I don't want to look like an idiot. So what I do, I just do busy work. I start making things up and things, I think this needs to be done. You know, the dishes in the kitchen need to be done. And I'm not doing the things that really build the company. This happens when you don't have a management and execution system. What you're looking for is you want every single person contributing to the 3 primary goals of the company. Every single person needs to contribute to the 3 primary goals of the company. Now, that's an interesting statement to make. Let me just ask you this. Do you know what the 3 primary goals of the company are? Do you know what the 3 objectives of the company are? I'm not talking about your mission. That's not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is what are the 3 things that drive this company forward? And the reason you want to do 3 is the human brain has trouble handling more than 3. So there may be 5 or 6 priorities, but the top 3 are what you're going to drive forward. So, and also, let me just share with you what ours is. You know, ours is, we want, I think it's 30,000 people in our online platform. We want 1,000 certified story brand guides, and we want 500 certified Business Made Simple coaches. Those are the 3 main priorities of the company. We just changed them because we had a 5-year priority and we turned it into a 2-year priority. But those are the 3 priorities of the company. What we had to get rid of some of the other priorities and even get rid of some revenue streams because we wanted to be focused. When you get so many people in the room, you've got to streamline your focus. But now, if you ask anybody on my team, what are the 3 main things we're trying to do? They'll say, well, we're trying to build the online platform, we're trying to certify coaches, and we're trying to certify story brand guides. And in order to do that, there are a bunch of other things that we need to do. We need to get the guides business. We need to get the coaches business. We need to put more stuff in our online platform. But everything we're doing serves the 3 primary objectives of the company. That is the first part of a management and execution system. What are the 3 primary objectives of the company? Now let me share another formula for you, and it's a formula for your mission statement. This is before we get into management and execution. This is a great mission statement, and write this down. We will accomplish X by X because of X. We will accomplish X by X because of X. So then you take the 3 priorities and you put them in your mission statement. We will have 30,000 people in our online platform, 1,000 StoryBrand certified guides, and 500 certified StoryBrand Business Made Simple coaches by 2023. Because everybody deserves access to a life-changing business education, right? We will accomplish X by X because of X. Now my mission statement even has the 3 priorities of the company in it. Then and only then can we put in a management and execution system because we actually know what we're trying to do. We know what we're trying to manage, and we interactions with customers. It is so vague and so huge that nobody actually knows what the mission of the organization is. But when you actually say, we will increase business-to-business sales by 30% and retail sales by 20% by January 1st, 2023, because everybody deserves the household cleaning products that, you know, make their lives better. Now you have a mission statement that actually drives concrete objectives that nobody gets confused about. So fix your mission first and make it the 3 economic priorities of the company. Activity and productivity are different. Running around and being busy and actually being productive toward 3 objectives are different things. If I walk into your office, are people actually, is there a lot of activity, or are they being productive? If we don't know where we're going and it hasn't been defined with 3 critical priorities or 3 critical objectives, they're probably being active, burning calories, but not productive toward an objective. So before we even get into management and execution, that's what we've got to do. Now, once we know that, we have a simple management and execution system that will actually increase productivity. And that is going to be a set of fixed meetings that replace almost all of our other meetings. Yes, in order to run our management and execution system, you're going to have meetings. And I know that's a dirty word. You don't want to have any more meetings. You are absolutely tired of meetings. You're going to have some meetings. I think these meetings replace almost all of your other meetings. They have for me and my company, they have for everybody. And some of these meetings, in fact, most of them, are about 10 to 15 minutes long, and they're done while standing. You don't actually sit and kill half a day. It's a quick call in the morning on Zoom, and you're off to the races. Okay, so I want to look at the 5 meetings. There are 5 meetings that you need to have to run an management and execution system. And in order to do that, I'm going to bring in Tim Sher. Tim, come join us. All right, Tim, do you remember the days when we didn't run these meetings?
Yes.
How many more meetings did we have when we didn't have these 5 meetings than we do now? How much more time do you think, honestly, let's be honest, how much more time do you think we spent in meetings? It's hard to say because the company's gotten so big. But how much more time do you think you spend in meetings when you don't have the right meetings?
As much as it is just the time spent in meetings, it's so much rework. So you come together, you have a plan, people go out and execute, and then what happens is you realize you're not working on the right stuff. So when we're talking about activity and productivity are very different things. That's what this system solves. And so what these meetings do is it actually gets you focused around the things that you truly should be focusing your time and attention on, which leads to less rework, which is actually causes frustration. It's wasted time, it's wasted money for the company. And so whenever now we are in this place, we are communicating about the right things. People have clarity in their role and they know what they should be working on. Saves a ton of time.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so actually let's take a look at these meetings. You've got your weekly staff meeting, your daily director stand-up, your daily department stand-up, your weekly personal stand-up, and your quarterly performance review. Oh, I know what everybody's saying. I don't want to have these meetings. I don't want to implement these meetings. Think of like Lord of the Rings. The 5 meetings to rule them all is really what we're looking at. So don't hang up yet. Don't get off Zoom. These meetings have... Now, let's also talk for a second, Tim, about how long it took us to figure this out. Yeah. I mean, we tried to bring in Rockefeller system. We tried to bring in... What was the... 4 Disciplines of Execution, which is actually a wonderful, wonderful book. You know, all that stuff was almost too complicated for us. And in order to bring in a Rockefeller person, I think it was $100,000. I don't want to say that. You can go look that up. But I mean, it was just an enormous amount of money. And really, Doug Kime came over from Cox Communications, spent 2 years with us, helped us figure this out, trained you on how to do it, and we implemented basically lean management. 5 different meetings. They don't take very long. It was so hard to work before that. I mean, we just were all working on different things, all wearing different hats. And we tried 2 different ways that were expensive to solve this problem, and it didn't work, and this worked. So we're talking to you about a solution that we've implemented that worked extremely well. Okay, Tim, the first thing we're doing is the weekly staff meeting.
Yes.
Tell us about the weekly staff meeting.
So the staff meeting, you're really able to set a really clear focus from the very beginning, reminding people what the 3 priorities of the company are.
Right.
And so we talked about how that is really the starting point for all of this. You have to know where this whole thing is headed. And so if anybody is needing to know what exactly is expected out of them, that should actually be hooked to what the company's priorities are.
Right.
So I remember a couple weeks ago I was watching this amazing documentary on HBO, Bill Belichick and Nick Saban, 2 amazing football coaches, Bill Belichick in the NFL, Nick Saban at Alabama in college football. And they have a mantra. These 2 guys have actually coached together over the years. They have a mantra. do your job. And I saw even a picture of
Yeah.
Alabama, it's on the wall, do your job. Well, what has to be true for someone to know what doing their job looks like? They have to know very clearly what is expected of them. If every single person knows what their role is, and it's clearly defined by Bill Belichick and Nick Saban,
Right.
the coaches are helping people define what is expected of them in their role, so that they then can look at, okay, how does my job fold into what the company or the team's priorities are
Right.
to keep us all moving towards success, towards winning.
Right.
And so what we do is we never want anybody to get too unhooked from what the company's priorities are.
Right.
Because it's just that checkpoint every single week to be like, now guys, don't forget.
And it's
here's where
amazing.
we're
We
headed.
literally had a meeting earlier today of like, well, we're thinking about doing this thing, but it's not part of the priorities. And what it does when you actually set the 3 objectives is it causes conversation to figure out, should we do this or shouldn't we do it? And then if you think, gosh, it's a great opportunity, you go, well, now we got to change. We can do it. We have to change the priorities of the company, right? Let's look at the worksheet, because you've actually made it easy to have this staff meeting.
Yes.
And there's a worksheet that we fill out for this staff meeting.
Yeah.
Tim, can we go through it?
Absolutely.
And by the way, you can download this right there at Business Made Simple. You can download all of these worksheets so that you can just fill them out and literally start executing on this system right
Yeah.
away.
So you're going to see the 3 blocks up at the top, company priorities. Here's a really important line. It says buy and align. And so what's important about your company priorities is they need to be time-bound, measurable, and specific. Time-bound, measurable, and specific. So taking a perfect example of this is what you had described, which is we know exactly how many people we're trying to fill into these different products and
30,000
categories
people in our online platform, 1,000 certified surveying guides.
by a particular date,
Right.
by the end of 2022.
So for you, I mean, as you're watching this at home, just think about those 3 squares at the top. So by January 1, 2023, that's about 15 months from now, what are the 3 things that you could actually specifically say that would be huge successes? We're going to sell, our revenue is going to go up by 10%. I kind of like that, but what I like a lot more is we're going to sell 2,000 cans of cat food. That to me, it's like when you can actually measure it, you're there. So then 2 and 3. What are the 3 things that you would put in those boxes, and what is the date that you will accomplish that by? Now, the reason you write that on the worksheet is because that is the first thing you talk about in staff meetings.
Yes.
You say, Don, we talked about that last week. Yep. You're going to talk about it every week until that date on 2023, and then you're going to celebrate whether you did it or you're going to review why you didn't get it done.
And part of the reason why it's blank is because we want you not only to fill it in, repetition to remind everybody what the goal is, but people also really like to feel a sense of progress.
Yeah.
Where are we on this journey where
Right.
we're trying to go together? So
No.
if everyone knows what their job is and they then know, okay, if I show up every day, does it matter? Well, we're reminding them in the staff meeting, here's where we're headed, and because of all of our work, we are making progress on this goal, heading us towards where we ultimately want to go.
Let me back up a little bit, Tim. Who fills out this worksheet? This is not a worksheet for every member of the staff. It's the person who's
Correct.
actually running the meeting,
Exactly.
right?
Yes, that's a really good point. So this is the people planning that meeting, the leaders. On our team, it's a couple of us in the leadership team that fill this out before we launch into these staff meetings. So that's up at the top, those goals. And then when you get down there to the bottom, we found it to be really beneficial in our staff meetings to choose a few different departments to give updates. And so there's a really important question right there. It's like, what has our department done, or what are we going to do to move us towards our company goals? So again, it's another reminder.
So an example would be, design and development on our team. They're not necessarily our tech team, but they're the people who design and develop our products and bring them into the world. If they are chosen, if it's their turn at that weekly meeting, and they would go maybe once a month, once every 2 months, depending on how many departments you have, what they're going to do is talk about, here's what we are doing to move the needle forward toward our objectives. What they're going to be tempted to talk about is really important. What they're going to be tempted to talk about is a show and tell of all they've gotten done. Limit that to 60 seconds, and then tell us, how are you driving us toward our objectives? That's the key with this meeting. It's all driving toward, what you're really doing is your 3 objectives are a filter. And if you say, here's what we're doing as a department, you have to defend what you're doing against the 3 objectives.
Yeah.
And because otherwise you're going to have people going, that doesn't have anything to do with our objectives. We're already getting massive traction just by that. So those are the questions. And you want 3 of those to be to 3 of those to report. They'll usually create keynotes. They usually go for 5 to 6 minutes. There's usually a bunch of applause and congratulations. There might be a few questions, but every department's getting a chance to speak maybe once a month, once every 2 months, right?
Yeah, it's a filter. It's that accountability. How is what we are doing in our department serving the company goals? And you're right. If they would come in with a massive punch list of, here's the 25 things our department got done, that's boring. Really, really boring.
I call it show and tell.
The only people that care about that are the people on your team. That doesn't serve the overall organization. So we like to keep those updates focused on what does the team need to know, which helps them be aware of what's going on in the company, which, you know, there's so many dependencies across different departments.
Right, yeah.
So it is important, and why we have this in the staff meeting is we want to hear what the departments are doing, because, you know, there's something that maybe the media team needs to be aware of, that if they hear design and development talking about something, they need to see how that might impact them. And so it is very important to hear these kinds of updates.
Yep. Okay. And then there's 2 more questions at the bottom. After you have your 3 divisions, your divisions present their ideas, what are the last 2 questions that we want to fill out?
Yeah. What was last week's big win? And then what's the big win we can all celebrate this week? And so really this is, you know, these are the way that we would define a big win is something that offers our customers value.
Right.
So when we ask, what was the big win last week? What we're really saying is, how did we add value to our customers last week?
Right.
Because we know if we do that week in and
we've
week out,
we've even talked about changing that question, and
Yes.
they do it, because you want everybody thinking about value for the customer, value for the customer, value for the customer. It's going to be tempting to say, you know, who's your favorite person in the room, or what was your favorite memory, what was your high and low this week? Yeah, those are wonderful bond building questions, but if you actually want to drive the company forward, there's only one way to do it: provide value for customers, value for customers, value for customers. So every week you're actually doing this. Think about what's just happened in this weekly staff meeting. What's happened in the weekly staff is you reminded everybody of the 3 main things we're trying to do, and you set a deadline to do them. Then you have 3 divisions saying, okay, here's how we have contributed to the 3 main things. And then after you hear everything, everybody, you basically say, guys, how have we, based on everything you've heard today, how have we provided more value for the company? And people say, well, I think the big one is design and development did this, or marketing did this, or, you know, tech did this, or media did this. And you write it down. That's a big win for the customer. And then the following week, you read that and you come up with a new one. If you think about what we just talked about with that one meeting, now if you just do one thing, grab that meeting worksheet and fill it out and obey that order of service, if you will. Every time you have a staff meeting, your staff meetings are going to come alive, and you're going to be driving the focus. That's only one of our meetings, Tim.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
We've got another one. We've got our daily director stand-up. Now this happens. Well, let's actually talk about the staff meeting. It happens Monday for us at 10 a.m.
yes.
And then the daily director stand-up happens Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday at 9 a.m. So the daily director stand-up is all those directors are actually getting on a Zoom call. We're trying to keep it to only 30 minutes. And what happens at that meeting?
This is all about communication.
Yeah.
And so it's, you know, we're talking about all these different departments have these different contingencies. And for us, this really started around the time, March 2020. That's when we started doing this. There was so much information that needed to be shared within the organization across different departments. And we started to realize how many additional meetings we were having about the projects that we're working on. And so we solved it by converting to a daily director stand-up. And so the key leaders of the company are meeting together, talking exactly about what the goals and the priorities are for even more detail than the staff meeting. The staff meeting is a little more broad, but this you can really start to get a little bit more into the weeds.
And there's no worksheet for this meeting. It really is a chance of, hey, you know, the real thing is like, the benefit of our daily director stand-up is, hey, Don, I need that thing from you. Mm-hmm. Hey, Tim, did you get that thing? Yeah, I'll Slack it to you right now. It's 30 minutes of like getting unblocked.
Yes.
Right? And passing things around, getting things in order so that you can start the day. Now, right after the director stand-up, which is the easiest meeting, there's no prep for it. You just show up at 9 o'clock and you have that meeting. We do it 3 times a week, even though we call it a daily. We actually took out our Thursday meeting because people felt like they were having too many meetings. Yeah. I don't think that costs us anything. You can do that 3 days a week. You have Monday staff meeting, Tuesday, Wednesday daily director stand-up, and Friday daily director stand-up. Then there is a daily department stand-up, which
Yeah.
does happen every day.
It does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is a 15-minute meeting that after the daily director stand-up, the director turns around and has there's 30-minute stand-up, then there's a 15-minute meeting with their department, with everybody in their department. They just got unblocked, got everything they needed, got focused again, and now they're gonna have this meeting, and we have a worksheet for that.
Yeah.
So we've already had 3 meetings, 2 worksheets.
Yeah.
Tim, can you explain what this worksheet is about?
Yeah, so in a department stand-up, this is where, let's just say there's 3 or 4 people on the customer service team. They're all gonna meet together and talk through very specifically, okay, what are my 5 priorities? And we'll actually talk about how everyone defines their 5 priorities here in a little bit, but each person is taking really 2 or 3 minutes to report on, okay, here are the 5 priorities. Here is what I have gotten completed since yesterday. Here's what I'm working on today, and here's where I'm blocked. And the goal is even in the department, they want to make sure they're removing blockers for one another. So, hey, I can't work on my task until you complete yours. So I need you to know that I'm blocked because I
Right.
really need to get this done by the end of day tomorrow.
Right.
So I need you to work on this today. And so in this worksheet, it gives you the ability to prep for this meeting by filling this worksheet out really throughout the day. You're really just tracking your own progress and showing how the work that you're doing each and every day is contributing to your department, which then is contributing to what the company's priorities and goals are. So you're reporting on your priorities, what you got done since the last time you met, what you're working on next, and where you blocked. Very, very, very simple.
Yeah.
So that is our whole system here. It's just simple. Let me just have some simple reminders of where we're at, where we're making progress, and where we're ultimately heading.
Sounds great. And then that's a group of people. Every meeting we've done so far is a group of people.
Yeah.
Now we're getting to the director is going to meet individually, and we call that a weekly personal stand-up.
Yes.
Right? And this is where we have a very important document called the Personal Priority One-Pager. It's the most important part of the system because it ensures every team member is focused and working on the right task to help the company achieve its goals. Now think about what we've done. We went from big company to each division to each person. So if you want to follow it that way, big company meeting, daily director stand-up, director or divisional meetings, and then personal meetings.
Yeah.
And the worksheet for this one is the key worksheet to the entire system. It increases morale, lets people know what they're supposed to do, and actually helps measure their success.
Yeah.
You want to go through this one?
You're going to see up at the top a very similar look to what your leaders were filling out in prep for that staff meeting, which is what are the company's priorities? What are those 3, spelled out? And this is really important for us to do our job, to know what our role is, to be a team member that contributes to the company's priorities. We then want to take and create our personal priorities, which is you're going to see here in these next couple sections. How is my department contributing to the company priorities? And then going down a little bit further, how are my personal priorities helping the department get what it needs to get done?
And those 5 department priorities are what showed up on the previous worksheet, right?
Yeah.
So we've got 3 priorities for the company, 5 department priorities, and then my personal priorities have to serve those 5.
Yeah.
And then at the bottom, what's the bottom part?
My development. And so for us, it's really important as an organization for our people to be developing, getting better each and every day. Continuous improvement is the thing that we talk about a lot. And so people just to list, hey, how are you developing? How are you getting better in this space? And so a lot of times people are writing down, regular time with a mentor, reading certain books. I know of a lot of companies who have their team members watch some of the courses that we have inside of Business Made Simple as a part of their development. And so, hey, maybe you're watching a course every month. Maybe, those are the kinds of things that people are writing in the development priorities. And so the key thing here is a one sheet of paper that helps you stay connected to what your priorities are, because activity and productivity are different.
Yeah.
The way that you stay focused and productive is by knowing what your priorities are that really are going to move the needle on what those company priorities are. So defining them very clearly, time-bound, measurable, specific for each.
The other thing that's really great is it forces a conversation. You think your priorities are this, the director may think the priorities are different, and so now we're having a conversation what the priorities actually are.
Yes.
And what that does is it stops people from going off into the weeds in their tracks.
Yeah.
Right?
And we're taking these one-pagers and we're modifying them, adjusting them, making sure that they're current every single quarter. So this would be a document that you fill out about once a quarter, but this is the document where you're meeting with your leader every week to talk through your priorities, make sure you're on the same page, make sure expectations are being met, cleaning up any confusion that may exist as a part of their day-to-day work. So every single week to know that you get to sit down with your leader and make sure that everyone's on the right track and you're all on the same page, it's very important, because there's a lot of companies where people are not meeting very regularly with their leaders. Yeah. It might be an annual review is the only time that they ever sit down and talk to their boss, and that is crazy.
It's and the reason let's talk about why it's crazy. It's crazy because the person actually feels like they're working alone, and they're not getting the feedback. They don't know what's expected of them. You know, another great thing that these documents do is they actually force good management. When you actually say, well, here, as a manager, as a director of the division, I want you to fill out this worksheet with your people. You are forcing good communication, you're forcing good management, and you're forcing good feedback. Yeah. All right, Tim, we've got a 5th meeting. And this meeting, you're going to love this because it only happens 4 times a year. It is with every person. It's the director with the person, but it's a private sit-down. Probably meeting is going to be about 30 to 45 minutes, and it's called the Quarterly Performance Review, where we actually review how well you did in the last 3 months. And this has been a fantastic tool for us as a company. Tim, can you tell us about this worksheet?
Yeah, absolutely.
You've done a ton of these quarterly performance
reviews.
So
you're going to see, as you start to fill out these different worksheets, they're all connected. So there's a handful of different worksheets, but it's a lot of the same information that's passed throughout. Yeah. Exactly. So, you know, in the meeting before, that one page where you have your individual priorities listed, you're going to just be filling these out on the personal performance scorecard. So here's how this works. Every quarter, we make a commitment to our team members to sit down with them and talk about their performance. Because we know how important it is for activity and productivity. Those are different. We want to make sure people are focused and intense around the priorities that make a difference in the company. So we sit down and every single quarter have this conversation, at least once a quarter, because we're having these weekly meetings. So really this performance review, it's an official document that's happening every quarter, but really you're having these kinds of conversations every week. And here's what makes this worksheet and this meeting different from the others. You're listing the priorities, and then we're talking about expectations. Have you exceeded the expectations off of that priority? Are you meeting the expectation? Or maybe are you not meeting that? So in advance of this performance review, we actually have our team members fill this out themselves as a self-review. And
so they come to the table. Now it says department priorities. Is it department priorities or personal?
It's personal priorities.
Okay, so that's just a typo.
Yeah.
That confused me too. So that is your personal priorities, not your department priorities, that you're filling that out. And then in the self-assessment, you got to decide whether or not you didn't meet it, whether you met it, or whether you did better. Yeah. And then does the director fill out the document too and come to the table with 2 different opposing documents?
Exactly.
Wow.
And I think what this is it's the ability to look at, okay, how do you feel like you did? Let's start there. So you write out your priorities. So let's just say that you have a customer service person and their goal is 95% customer satisfaction by the end of this quarter. That's the goal. Maybe they were at 85% and they want to get to 95%. Right. And so they are going to talk about, okay, here's the work that I did this quarter to move us from 85% to 95%. Yeah. Here's my contribution to that department priority, right? And so we're able to, as a leader and as a person that is in that meeting, if you don't have the same mark on the expectations section over on the right, that really forces the conversation to be like, okay, walk me through how you feel like you maybe exceeded an expectation where I felt like you kind of just met it. And that's fine. Like meeting expectations is not bad.
And it forces you to come to some sort of agreement on, well, actually, no, I don't feel like you did that. And this is where you get the critical feedback. Yeah. Most people hate giving bad news. They hate sitting there and talking about, I don't think you're doing a good job, and you showing up late, and you know, all that kind of stuff. You have to sort of force that conversation to take place. And the great thing is, the person knows they're going to have the conversation. They're not sideswiped by it. They know they haven't shown up, they've shown up an hour late to work and all this kind of, they know that. And now we're going to actually sit and talk about it. And there's this quarterly sort of recycling of, there's no surprise when it's basically, we've disagreed 3 quarters in a row on whether or not you're doing a good job. Yep. You don't show up. You don't show up. And they're going to go, well, I exceeded it because, I worked at home or whatever. Yeah, it's going to force some conversations. Yeah. But nobody gets sideswiped when you actually use this.
And we just believe that direct conversation and honest, open feedback is the best way to really keep in relationship with your team members long term. So
that's a whole other thing of sort of check your ego out the door. What matters most is the objectives of the company. Tim, we use our fourth quarterly performance review. It's actually tied to a bonus structure.
Yeah.
And I'll explain the bonus structure to you because you may want to borrow this, and Tim, maybe you can explain kind of how those conversations go.
Yeah.
What we do is we give a 1 to 3% of your salary as an end of year bonus. 3% if you really did a great job. 2% if you just kind of met expectations. Maybe 1% if you met them but not super well, and 0%. I don't think we've ever done 0%, but you know what that means. That is if the company reaches its goal. If we surpass our goal or reach our stretch goal, it opens up another 2% of your potential bonus to all the way to 5. So instead of negotiating 1 to 3, we're actually negotiating 1 to 5 if the overall company met its goal. And you want to set that at the beginning of the year so everybody's super clear about where we're heading to open up another 2% of bonus. Tim, when you actually have that fourth quarter conversation, how is that different than the first 3? Because you've been in a lot of those.
Yeah, one thing that we've learned is people don't really like you messing around with their compensation.
No, they don't.
And so they don't like to know.
And they want to be in control of it.
They want to know where they stand, and they want to know what can I do to be eligible for the most amount possible on the financial side of things. And so we have this conversation. Really, if we're doing our job, it is a conversation in the fourth quarter where we're really kind of setting it in
We've
stone.
had 3 other of these conversations, and it's come up in personal stand-ups, and it's come up. It's come up. There's not a surprise. We have not reached our numbers. You have not been able to do this. You've not. It's not a surprise by this time, which is that's such a gift.
Yeah, and let's just say in the Q3 performance review, we have a pretty good feel for where we're going to hit at the end of the year with company revenue. We have a better idea in Q3 than we do in Q1 or Q2 where the company is going to head towards on the financial side. So we then therefore know they're going to either be looking at a 3 or up to a 3 or 5% bonus. So we can get to the end of a Q3 performance review or in that meeting and say, hey, it looks like you're trending towards getting the max amount of bonus possible.
Doing great.
Because we have this document where we're regularly able to talk about, are you exceeding expectations, meeting them? So somebody who is exceeding expectations regularly, that's somebody who would be eligible for that max bonus. And I think that this is an important distinction or something to say about this performance review. You're going to have some people on the team that are going to want to write exceeded on every single one. I just don't think that's possible. And here's why I don't think that's possible. Because
we've got to up our goals if we're exceeding every
exactly. If somebody's exceeding expectations, I would just say that you're probably not setting your goals high enough.
Yeah.
You're making it too easy. And so we want to set our teammates up to win, our employees up to win. At the same time, we need them to really dig in and learn and develop and kind of bring their best to reach those goals. So we like goals to be on that edge where, hey, you're going to have to really dig in, be focused and intense around the right things for us to achieve that goal. And so I think it's most realistic on a performance review for some of your employees. You're probably looking at 1 or 2 of those are exceeded, and you're hoping that a couple of them are met. And there are some really good employees that don't meet an expectation, and sometimes that just looks like a priority or a goal changing. And so maybe we didn't meet it because we had all decided that, hey, we are going to focus on maybe numbers 1 through 4, and we're going to let 5 we're going to hold on that one.
Right.
So just because somebody didn't meet doesn't mean that you're a failure. There's not a lot of people that are going to want to walk into a performance review and be like, didn't meet. Yeah. But the performance reviews and the self-reviews that I appreciate the most are ones where they're honest.
Well,
they're honest.
And some people, they don't want to put didn't meet the expectations because they didn't have the software to do it just yet, and they didn't have their computer. And what it does is it just forces that conversation. Yeah. Like, what's blocking you? Let's figure out what's blocking you and let's move it so that you can, it stops things from getting stalled.
Yeah.
All right, you got 2 questions that are really interesting at the bottom of the worksheet.
Yeah.
One is, did you come prepared for the stand-up?
Come prepared.
Talk to me about why it's so important to isolate that question.
Because so we have this one-pager that we're talking about every week in our stand-ups. We're meeting with our, departments every day. If you're showing up and actually not focus on the right things, we see that as a problem.
Yeah.
That is not what a good team
You're
member looks
engaged or
like.
you're not engaged.
Yeah, so are you actually, and do you have a clear view of success? Do you know what the department priorities are, what your priorities are? Are you showing up and doing your part? Or is your team constantly having to say, I'm blocked by you?
Yeah.
I'm still blocked by you, you know?
Yes, yeah.
And so I think that that's a part for us to just, how are they, when it comes to how other people are relating with them? Are they coming up prepared? Are they getting their stuff done? So that is a marker there. And then next opportunities, that's the other section here at the bottom. So in the coming quarter, what do we see? What is ahead for this person in their own development? And so we may see and have a vision for something for an individual. We just kind of want to use this space to say that out loud.
Yeah.
And I know there's a member on our team, and you know, in one of her performance reviews, she's like, I want to do more. I can take more on. There's a part of the business I want to take more responsibility for. And so we were able to have a really good conversation about that and write that down in next opportunities. Let's have you start to take on more of these tasks and priorities.
Yeah.
And so we're able to have the conversation about what we all think could come up in the coming quarter and just define it on that document.
Absolutely love it. 5 meetings, 4 worksheets, and you're out.
Yeah.
You have a management and execution system that works. And it doesn't matter how big your company is or really how small your company is. We'll get to that in a second. You can actually run this system. So download the worksheets, take a look at them. Have your team, your directors especially, watch this live stream. Explain it and start using the system. Now, there's some tips and truths as we start using the system that we want to be ready for.
Yes.
And the first is be patient and persistent. It should say be patient but persistent because yeah, you got to be patient and you got to keep at it. It will take up to 1 quarter to get momentum. It's just a new system. Now I know, Tim, that this is my problem, and I know there's a lot of business owners who are wired like me out there.
Yeah.
You get into a meeting and you want to freewheel in the meeting.
Yeah.
And I built this company by freewheeling. You know what I
Yes.
mean? And it's
Yes.
just such a hard conversion to say, stop.
Systems and processes.
Systems and processes. We're going to talk about the 3 priorities. We're going to talk about how we,
Yeah.
and then pretty soon everybody's brain, including the owner, starts to change. Like, well, man, you know, I really do want to do this other thing, but you know what? I cannot bring that to my company.
Mm-hmm.
I can't. I got to do that with my buddy over here. And that is a beautiful moment of evolution in your leadership, right? You gave everybody 3 priorities. Stop throwing new things at them. Start a different company and do that over here.
Yeah.
Do what you need to do, but stick with these 3 and let people get some traction. So be patient.
And the thing about this is as a leader, we talk about this a lot on the marketing side. It takes people, 7, 8 impressions before that information really metabolizes.
Yeah.
The same is true when you're communicating with your team. Sometimes you have to say the goal or say the thing 7, 8, if not more
or 52
times.
times in 52 staff
Yeah.
meetings. And then it shows up in their personal 1-pager too.
Yeah.
It's literally in there, the
Yeah.
objectives of the organization.
A lot of business leaders want to freewheel because they get bored.
Right.
And I think that what we have to push through, how we have to be patient and persistent, is saying the same thing over and over, because it's going to take us continue to remind people, no, this is where we're heading. No, this is what the goal is.
Yeah.
And we have to say that over and over for it to really sink in. But just these are phased approaches. Even if somebody starts by saying, start with the staff meeting, do that, and kind of keep evolving and adding things to
Right.
it. This whole system can take some time to adopt the whole thing, but start with something. Like
Yeah.
start with the
And
staff
meeting is a
define-
great place
Exactly.
to start. Stick with it. Number 2, when you are busy and start feeling overwhelmed, don't abandon the system.
Yeah.
Lean into it, and it will help you and your team. I'm telling you, stick with it. You want to stick with this for an entire year and see what happens to your organization. You also want to continuously improve. Don't be afraid to adjust and evolve the system so that it works for your business and team. Now, Tim, how much are you wanting them to be able to actually sort of improv on, and when you talk about improvement? What do you mean by improvement? You mean like add their own worksheets, or what do you mean?
Yeah, so, for us, it's looked a little bit like, hey, in your performance review, we have a set list of, hey, we want you to talk about priorities and expectations and, next opportunities, but the way that you have that conversation can evolve. Like make it work for you. What seems to be a conversation way that y'all can communicate that
and
works
what's the
well.
rhythm? Do you need daily
Yeah.
director stand-up? Can you meet twice a week? You know,
Yeah.
you want to figure that out. But it's
Yeah.
5 meetings that you've got to have in 4. Now, before we get into Q&A, and I know Marley and Josh on our team are preparing Q&A for us here in a minute. Let's just talk about how we actually run it. So we have our weekly staff meeting at 10 a.m. We have our director meetings at 9 a.m. Our day starts at 9. So basically the weekly staff meeting, everybody got an hour to get their stuff done. It's a Monday morning, and then you go to staff meeting. All of this is taking place on Zoom because we work remote. We have the 9 a.m. director meeting, and that is Tuesday, Wednesday. We skip Thursday so people can get stuff done, and we have it on Friday.
Yep.
Then the daily division stand-ups, department stand-up happen every day.
Yeah, 15 minutes.
15 minutes, you're standing. It's a Zoom call. You don't have to stand on Zoom if you don't want to, but it's quick. It's 15 minutes. And then you have your personal stamps happening once a week with every person. Then your quarterly performance review is a sit-down to talk thoroughly about all those personal stand-ups.
Yeah, those performance reviews, we carve out 20, 30 minutes. So we on the calendar, we block it for 20 minutes, but we don't schedule one except for every 30 minutes because they usually go about 30. So about every 20, 30 minutes for those personal the performance reviews.
Now, what it sounds like is you're in meetings all the time, and what we've discovered is the exact opposite. It feels like you know what the meeting is. They're not impromptu. You know what you're going to talk about. You come prepared. Tim, let's talk about. First of all, this has replaced so many meetings, right? But let's talk about the meetings that we have or not in these 5 meetings. The big ones for us are actually called war rooms, and they're strategy meetings. So these are marketing strategy meetings, design and development strategy meetings. It's all content creation for us. Those meetings where the department heads have to get together, that's not in this system. I would say we do those meetings, gosh, it feels like twice a month. I'm in one of those meetings about twice a month. So if you think about it, that's really it, right? I'm not in any other meetings. I'm able to get my work done. Okay, before we get to Q&A, and Marley's going to set us up with somebody who has a question. And if you haven't put your question in, just go to @BusinessMadeSimple on Instagram. Leave a comment, a question, a comment. We'll reach out to you, DM. We'll get you on the air here in Zoom. Now, I just want to ask one question before anybody else does. Don, I'm a solopreneur. I work with a bunch of vendors. How do I do this, or do I do this with my vendors? The answer is yes. You can ask vendors to attend these meetings when necessary. So you reach out and say, hey, can you attend our all-staff meeting? I don't think you can legally ask them to attend like weekly staff meetings because there's all sorts of tax laws that basically makes them an employee, but they're over here not paying taxes or not paying payroll taxes, things like that. Check with your accountant on what you can do there. But yes, if I have a project that I'm paying a vendor for the next 3 months, I want them in that daily director stand-up. Right? Because that's just part of the deal. Yes, you can do that. A lot of people don't do it. I think they suffer because of it. You can ask vendors. Don't call it the daily director stand-up. Just saying, look, we're meeting every morning at 9 a.m. until this project is done, just so that we can get you all the information as a vendor that you need to make sure it's done well. Think about how much that will improve vendor relationship and productivity.
And I also think to have a version of a performance review with them, which if you really look at a performance review, it's in simple terms, it's what is the priority? What is the thing that I'm expecting? I'm asking you to execute for me, and are we doing a good job from both of our perspectives? Is this working, right? To have some version of that with outside vendors, contractors, I think is really important.
All right, well, we're going to go to Q&A. Again, submit your questions on Instagram by commenting on our latest post. It's @BusinessMadeSimple. And all you have to do is leave a comment. We will find you there on Instagram. We'll pull you over into a Zoom room. All right, so we are ready for our first question. And this is always the uncomfortable part where we try to get people to go to space and come back and then show up on our screen so that we can answer your question. Tim, great job. Hey, how are you? What's your name?
Hi there, I am Richard, and I live in Greenville.
Greenville, South Carolina?
Yes, sir.
Great food, great town, great arts community. Greenville is a hidden treasure in the South, my friend.
Yes, it is. Yeah, we just moved there, loving it.
Oh, great. Well, This is Tim Sher. I'm Don Miller. What's your question?
Hey guys, so I just got hired on as the executive director for a nonprofit.
Very fun.
Yes, it is. They've been without a director for a few months. Another key member just resigned. And so I'm just, my question is like, how do I bring this system to this team?
How do you roll it out?
Who, yeah.
Okay, can I give you some phases?
Absolutely.
Okay, so phase one, don't introduce a new management execution system. Phase one is decide the three objectives of the organization, the three primary objectives. They have more objectives than three. But what are the primary objectives we're going to focus on? You got to get everybody bought in on this idea. We're going to pursue three things. That's what we're going to do. Then the second thing you want to do is you want to make that part of your mission statement. They're not going to let you change the mission statement. So know what you're going to do? You're going to write a purpose statement. you're just going to call it something else, right? We're going to do a little bait and switch there. So we're going to call it a purpose statement. It's got those three things in there, right? Then the next thing that I would do, Tim, is I would orchestrate the new weekly all-staff meeting. You're going to start it with the three main objectives of the organization. You're going to read that purpose statement, and you're going to have picked three divisions to share. But here's how you're sliding into this. You're going to say, I want you to only share about what you've done that move us toward our three objectives. Here's what you're going to get: zero pushback. Now, if you would have said, we're running this management and execution system, we're only going to have three objectives, we're changing our mission statements, and you're going to have these 5 meetings every week, you're toast. You're toast. and then
I'm just going to quit now.
Yeah, after the staff meeting, you start that daily director stand-up, and then I would put in, then I would go, this is where it gets tough for them. It's the divisional or the department stand-up and the personal stand-up and the quarterly. That's really where you're saying, hey guys, I think it would help us all reach these three objectives if we just added these 3 meetings to what we're already doing. And that's going to be the rub. But by then, you're already on the 40, 50-yard line heading down into enemy territory. And I think you're going to get there a lot quicker if you slide into that system. That would be my thought, Tim.
I think it's a great idea. People really appreciate the structure.
Yeah.
Because if you show up at a staff meeting or show up for your work and you don't know where this whole thing is headed, that confusion is not fun for anybody. So creating that structure is really gives people peace of mind. They know where this is headed. They know their role. It's really helpful for everyone.
So great to meet you.
That's really great advice.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you very much. Can I ask one just kind of follow-up question?
Please.
To that really quick? So do you think I could, like, in our first staff meeting, maybe get some input from them to help form these 3 objectives?
Yes.
Or should
100%.
I just...
I'm so glad. You do not want to be the dictator coming into the room with the 3 objectives. Yeah, you really do want to talk about it. You want to look at what you're building. You want to look at what's worked. And it's a great exercise for them to say, hey, what are the 3, in order to make our mission happen, what are the 3 things that we need to focus on most? And that's a wonderful conversation to have. But yeah, you want the main way to get buy-in is to actually share that conversation and not dictate where it's going.
Perfect. That's great advice. I appreciate it, guys.
And then, sometimes, like yesterday, 2 days ago, somebody came to me and said, can we drop one of the objectives? Things have evolved in the company. That's no longer really our objective. Sounds like, can we drop it? And absolutely. So now you actually got people coming to you saying, hey, we're not heading there. Can we do this? It's group ownership.
In those staff meetings, because you're reporting on here's the 3 company priorities, when you start to feel like, man, I don't know if we're actually really with a whole lot of authenticity able to say we're doing that well, that's a really good check to be like, maybe we should have a war room and strategize what these priorities should evolve into.
Something's not right here. And that just reminds me, Tim, we took out a priority. We got to put one in. Right? We got to figure out what our next priority is. All right. Thank you so much for joining us. Who else is next? He was great.
So fun.
You ever spend time in Greenville, South Carolina?
No.
It is a hidden treasure.
Really?
Yeah. It's a little mini Austin, Texas, or Portland, Maine, right there in the heart of the South. I'm telling you, great food, great arts community. Any other questions? I know we're supposed to stall.
So again, and maybe it'd be helpful just if there's another slide here where we have the really just defining exactly what these meetings are, just to remind everyone. It's the weekly staffing.
Yep.
We keep talking about that, but I think that is a really good phased approach. And this is really exactly what you described for him. A really nice way to roll this out. What does a phased approach look like? It's that exactly what you said.
And the big thing with the weekly staff meeting are those 3 priorities. You know, everything really hinges around those 3 priorities.
Yeah.
Everything circulates around that. That alone gets the thing moving forward, right? It starts moving the ship. And then having the directors defend, that's really what it is. They're defending how they supported the 3 priorities, and now we're all moving in the same direction. Hello, friend. How are you?
Oh, hi. Hello. I'm great. Thank you.
Where are you calling from? And what's your name?
My name is Arnaud. I'm French, but I'm calling from the Czech Republic.
Oh, very good. Akmul?
Arnaud. Like there are no coincidences.
Arnaud.
Arnaud.
Arnaud, I will never forget your name again. I always appreciate when somebody gives me a learning tip. Arnaud, so great to meet you. Hello in the Czech Republic. And I'm sure if you're French and you're in the Czech Republic, you got some sort of story. And someday we'd love to hear it. Will you just tell us a little bit, just real quick, about the business that you work in and work on?
Yes. So, you know how most solopreneurs get overwhelmed and give up before they actually make profit?
Yes.
So we provide courses and accountability so they make anxiety-free money fast.
It sounds like you know what a one-liner is, and you just did it really well.
Well done. You did it. It's great.
Very, very well
My heart was racing because, like, well, I'm one-lining the one-liner master. So I was like,
I think you did awesome. I think you learned it well.
It's like you're one of us. I was like, this guy hangs out with us. This is awesome.
Arnaud. Okay, so do you have a question about management and execution?
Yes, I do. Well, first of all, thank you. This is very useful, the content that you're putting out there in general and today. So my question is a little bit related to the vendors points that you made. And it's about, what about when you have a small team where several of the employees are part-time and maybe they work 5 to 10 hours a week for us? How do we adapt this system with the various meetings? Because if they have 5 hours for us, we maybe don't want to spend three hours a week on meetings. So that's how to adapt to smaller organization with part-timers.
Yeah, totally. I think what you can do, Arnaud, is you can keep your weekly staff meeting to about 30 minutes because you don't really need those department, you want them speaking, but they don't need to do keynote points, presentation points. I think you might be able to, with some of them, drop the director meeting. They may not need to be in the director meeting. I do think at least once a week you need to do the personal stand-up. So I do a hybrid. I do the weekly staff meeting for about 30 minutes. Then your critical people, I'd stay on the call with the most critical person maybe for another 15 minutes and do that personal stand-up. So, and the other thing is I would pay them for the meetings. So I'd actually say, look, I need you for 5 hours a week. It's $25 when you attend this 30-minute meeting, and for every personal stand-up, it's going to be another $10. I don't know what you want to pay them or however much that works, but you would pay them for that time. Just make it a separate deal. What you're going to find is that $25 for that 30-minute meeting is going to make you $250 that week because they're not working on things, and they're also, especially with vendors, they're accountable. A vendor is going to get tired of week after week saying, well, it rained, or the technology didn't come in, or they're going to do that twice and they're going to realize they can't keep doing that. So the more often that you meet with them, the more often they're going to make excuses, and the shorter they're going to keep making excuses. And so I think you can do a hybrid model, but you do want to meet with them every week.
Yeah. Thank you. So the weekly staff meeting, and
I would do
another one that shouldn't
all
be
staff, everybody together meeting to talk about the 3 critical objectives that you all have in common. Then the most important person, you're going to hang out for another 15 minutes and do a stand-up there. Then if there's any other, the next day you might do 2 stand-ups with 2 other people who you think are really important. They're each going to be 15, 20 minutes. I don't think you need to do it daily at that point. As the team grows and you start bringing people in-house, that hybrid model becomes more and more the model that we presented.
Okay. Okay, well,
But
thank you very much.
here's the big thing for everybody and for you to remember, Arno. It's this. The worksheets force accountability and clarity. So if you do, even if you just do them once a week or whatever, fill out the worksheet and control and dictate the direction of that meeting. It's not just a let's get on and talk about anything that's on our mind or anything that's bothering us. Drive the 3 objectives forward every chance that you get. Okay, thanks so much, Arno. Hope everything's well in Czech Republic. Forgot to ask him what time it is. I'm always curious.
I know, I've done, what time?
6 p.m. I was going to guess 7 or 8, but 6 p.m. is not too bad. Go get yourself something to eat, Arno. You ever been to Czech Republic?
Thank you.
I have not.
I want to go to the Czech Republic. I hear it's beautiful. Okay.
Send me a
who do we
line if
have
you
here?
come.
So it's a question that I think a lot of our small business owners, I like that we're talking about, how do you engage with contractors? Because I can feel the, for them,
Yeah.
they're like, I want to pull them in, but I only have them for 5 hours a week. Do I want to take 3 of their 5 hours in a
Right.
meeting? But I think it's a really good point. How can they just stay connected to what the company's priorities are to make as much progress as possible? We don't want them just working on a
And
bunch
are
of
we
stuff.
driving those priorities forward every single day?
Yeah.
I mean, it just has to be driven forward every single day.
Yeah.
It can't get ambiguous. We're doing these 3 things, doing these 3 things, doing these 3 things, doing these 3 things. And with vendors, we're doing these 3 things, these 3 things. I mean, you're paying them, and
Yes.
I know there's some rules on that they're not on your staff. You can't force them to attend meetings, but you can say, look, we have this meeting that's going to really help you get your work done for us. We'd love for you to attend.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hey, what's your name?
Hey, I'm Brian Steck. I'm from Colorado Springs, Colorado. Thank you both for what you're doing. It's definitely helping a lot of people. So
I'm
thank
glad,
you.
Brian. I spent a lot of time in Manitou Springs.
It's a good place. Have you ever
Good
done the
place.
incline?
Yeah. That was many years ago, but I love Colorado
Okay.
Springs. I look right there on the front range. It's amazing.
It's gorgeous.
Okay, Brian, what's your
Good,
question?
good spot to be. Yeah. So, I run a team of freelancers. We do web design for companies all across the country and organizations, trying to help them get back to what they're doing best. But as a leader of a team of freelancers and contractors, they have the autonomy to make their schedules, set their own rhythms, choose their workflows. And they are now increasingly dealing with more distractions from home in a post-COVID world. So I'm asking, how do you increase synergy? How do you create that? How do you move a team forward that you don't maybe have the control over that you might if you were a full-on company that had employees where you said, show up at this time and do this thing? And not that you are a dictator, but there's some control that you have as an employer that is different when you're running a team of contractors. So I'm just curious what your
100%.
perspective is
I think
on
it's
that.
very similar to Arno's question. They're going to have to be at that weekly staff meeting. Even if it's just the weekly staff meeting, here's the 3 critical priorities. What I would do is kind of a hybrid meeting, though. Tim, I would take the weekly staff meeting and I'd actually use the director, the division meeting, the department meeting worksheet. So I do it every week, and I'd use the department meeting worksheet. What are we getting done? Where are we blocked? Those are the kinds of questions that you want to ask. You're really talking about a 20-minute meeting once a week. If you can do it on Monday and Wednesday, you're even better. So take the department stand-up worksheet and fill it out. Do it on Monday and Wednesday. Is a great hybrid for you. It's going to save them so much distraction because they know what they're supposed to be working on and they know whether they did a good job. And it also provides that accountability that you need. Tim, what do you think? How would you do it?
We really like having that meeting on Monday just because it feels like sets the tone for the entire week.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'd do a staff meeting on a Friday because it feels like by the time they get back on Monday, they've already kind of gone through the
week is
weekend.
dead and they've checked
So,
out.
but I understand what you're saying, which is this might be one of the ways that you adapt this process to work for you. To find a time that works for everybody. If you can, get it as early in the week as you can. But as long as you're meeting regularly, that feels like a really good move. But you can, I would imagine you'll find a time that works for everybody for you guys to meet 15 or 30 minutes.
Brian, the other thing that I'd be careful of is that it's a set time and it repeats every week. You just want people, I know at 9 a.m. I've got a meeting. And it probably took, gosh, I don't know, weeks for me to kind of go, it's Monday. Today's Thursday, we didn't have it. If it's like, hey, we're going to have our directly staff meeting at 3 o'clock today instead of 9, if you have to move it from 3 to 9, don't do it.
Yeah.
Do it the next day at 9. You don't want that thing moving around because you want the rhythm and cadence of the organization to chug along at the same cadence and get the thing moving.
Yeah, and there may be some weeks where people aren't able to attend, and they're on vacation or whatever. So we keep having the meetings even without them. There's time to time that you'll have somebody not there. So if the question is, should I not have the meeting if everyone can't attend, or have the meeting with 80 or 90% of people there? Have the meeting with 80 or 90% of the people there, because at least you get those people, reminding them what the priorities are. They're part of that. So, but yeah, I think you're right. Knowing exactly when it's going to be and being able to land on that consistent time is important.
Yeah, absolutely. So we've had actually for a while a Monday morning meeting at 10 a.m. Everyone shows up, and it's right around that 20 to 30 minute mark. We go over all the projects that need to be done, and we're kind of more that director's style meeting. On a Friday, we do what we call like our WIG meeting. It's our wildly important goals that we're just, these are the kind of the priorities that you guys are outlining. I guess what I'm asking in part is, throughout the week, we've got people that are out with sick kids because of, someone's got a fever. So all of a sudden, dad's home with the kid. That makes it really tricky. And I don't know how your company handles that. When someone's all of a sudden pulled out and you weren't expecting that, how do you create that communication throughout the week that,
I think
and that kind of like adapt and flow with this?
I think it's going to happen naturally. I really do.
Okay.
I think if you know that on Monday and Wednesday there's a 9 a.m. meeting and you've missed 2 of them in a row because you feel like you're getting paid, but you're not delivering on expectations, and they're going to stop not being at that meeting. I mean, I really believe that they need to be at that meeting. And this is if I want to meet for coffee every week to talk about how you're doing as my contractor, and you're not showing up at the meeting, no, I can't force you. I certainly can't force you to be at the meeting. What I can do, though, is go get a new contractor.
Yeah.
I can absolutely say, no, I'm not going to work with you anymore.
Yeah.
So, don't think that because you can't force people to be at meetings, you have no leverage. You have an enormous amount of leverage, and those meetings are necessary in order to get the work done.
Some of what you're talking about is like, you have a sick kid. Those are the exceptions to the rule. I think what we're talking about, and I think what you're really asking is that, hey, I want all of us to be meeting on a regular basis. And if you're, I think Don is right.
The peer pressure is going to happen so fast.
Yeah, if they're not interested in having those check-ins, I would agree. Maybe they're not the right fit for you. But, in those moments for somebody sick, it's like you have to have a human response to those things. And so we're talking more about the rule, not the exception. So we want people to show up, but also if you kind of got to adjust as life happens, that's the stuff that we got to trust that you're going to do.
That happens all the time anyway. We just pick it up the next meeting.
Yeah, it's so good. Hey, thank you, gentlemen.
Thanks, Brian.
Appreciate it.
All right, these are great questions.
It's fun.
We have a lot of solopreneurs who use freelancers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm learning that.
Even from that too. We had a conversation about that yesterday. Absolutely. Hello, how are you? Oh, you're muted. It might be on your end.
Great, thanks.
There you go.
We hear you now.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. My name's Colleen Higgs. I'm in New Brunswick, Canada. And my question is, would either of you say that execution is not your strong suit? And if so, how do you mitigate that? Of course, you've got a structure and a system now, but before you had a team, on the front end, how did you mitigate that?
Colleen, I would definitely say that execution is not my strong suit, 100%.
Me too.
So I created my own day planner and started using it, and I've used it for about 10 years. Well, no, Kyle made that for me right after I got married. So about 8 years now. And it has been fantastic for me. And I fill it out in the morning. It's kind of a morning ritual, and it helps me prioritize my time. And I realize I've got to get strong at execution. And actually, I need to stop saying I'm not good at execution.
You're really good at
my
execution,
stuff gets done. But I used to not be that way. So there was a transformation for me. Now, I'm good at executing when I have to do something and I have to get the work done, and it's due Friday. I'm excellent at that. Helping Tim execute on his priorities, zero ability whatsoever. So this whole management execution system is actually the way that we solve that problem. And I do have people run the management and execution system for me because they're better than me. They're just better than me at doing it. And I'm not good. I'm not going to be good I'm great at content creation. I'm not good at getting into the weeds and figuring out what you're supposed to be doing or whether or not you did that. That's not the best use of my time. So Tim is actually exceptionally gifted at that. And Kyle Willis, who's with us, is very, very gifted. Kyle Reed, Tyler Ginn, our directors, Marley, very, very good. Amy, April, I'm not going to name them all. They're all very, very good at that. And so, but we needed a system to help us do that. So what do you do when you're not naturally good at it? If you're a solopreneur, a day planner that you fill out every day. There's one Here on a Mission. Do we have that online?
Mm-hmm. It's on the Business Made Simple platform.
Oh, it's on the Business. Yeah. Sorry, if you go to the Business Made Simple platform, which you're a part of, download the Here on a Mission planner. Fill it out every day. It'll change your life.
Yeah.
That's for you personally. If you are good at managing people, everything that we just shared is going to be great for you to run. If you're not good, you need somebody else to run it for you. That's what I would say.
If I could only get someone else to run my kids.
Wait,
well, you know what? I mean, is there a daily director a personal check-in, a quarterly review for your kids, and then do they get up to 3% of their allowance bonus, or do they get a 5% bonus? I think we just actually rework this material.
You're not meeting expectations right now.
Exactly. Yeah.
And I would say for a lot of people, this isn't how they're wired. To figure out the system is something that's challenging, but I think that the more that you use a system that is handed to you, it feels like you're going to start to gain some momentum by implementing what we're passing over. Because I think it's very simple to use as someone would commit to it. So I would say the important thing is start to take these pieces and implement it for yourself. And if you have another person on your team that you could say, hey, can you help me? This is important because I see the potential value of this in our organization. I want us to commit to this, and I'm going to need your help to do it. Finding that partner would be really helpful. But I also think you may find that you're better at this than you think if you're handed the tools and have a little bit of instruction to implement it yourself.
Right.
I got lost in my head just thinking about little Emmeline and sitting down and doing a quarterly performance review.
She's crying.
You're not rolling. You're rolling over on your tummy, but you're not getting back to your back. So we gotta work. I can't do it.
Here's your next opportunities.
Your next opportunities.
Hey, here's something we're gonna work on.
Keeping the food in your mouth. Some awesome stuff. Oh my gosh, you guys, she's adorable. I could never have a quarterly.
And not all performance reviews are negative. What I've actually found is these performance reviews for a lot of organizations
are encouraging.
For a lot of companies, they're like bracing for something crazy. For us, I feel like we're walking away being like, awesome, let's keep going. And I think the reason why our performance reviews are usually solid is because we just know where this is headed. Yeah. People know what the expectations are. They know where they fit in the overall organization.
And it's more celebration than it is
momentum.
Rebuke or anything like that. It's celebration of progress.
Yeah.
Okay, I think we've got some time. One more. Should we do one more question, or we got a few more? Lindsay, how are we doing?
12, so we're good.
Oh, we're good. Let's do one more question though, and then we'll move on.
Right, hey guys, my name's Chris. Thanks for putting this on and for the opportunity to talk with y'all.
Hi, Chris. Good to see you. Where are you located?
I'm out of Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
Milwaukee. Okay, very good.
Yes. And the question is regarding if you have any advice for managing folks with like highly technical or specialized skills. So in my case, I work with PhD researchers. We have some of these cadences. I'm excited to implement them. But when we think about efficiency and accuracy and approach to their work, I'm not specialized and trained in what they're doing. So how do you handle those types of team members?
So really team members where you're just not understanding, they're speaking a language you don't understand, that you don't have what it takes to actually know what their objectives should be or keep them accountable to them. Is that the problem?
Yeah. So we have deadlines. That's not the issue. But the way we get there, right? So if as a coach and as a manager, I want to help them optimize their approach, optimize their kind of schedule and workflow. And some of the ways they do their work is things I'm not specifically trained in. So I provide the direction and the deadline. but I'd love to be able to coach more. And just curious how you have to deal with that.
Yeah, I mean,
across an
we
organization.
haven't had to deal with that a whole lot, except, you know, in each division, you would have Kyle who's getting into like HubSpot and Keep and, you know, some of the software that we use and all that kind of stuff. It's actually a tough question because I think the thing is you have to have somebody managing that department who actually understands that stuff. So you got to get somebody else to do that, or you need to dive in and actually understand it. But I think the other option would be just keep it at here's the work that's got to be done and here's the deadline and where are you blocked and how can I help you. You might sort of not get into the weeds with them or get somebody else to get in the weeds with them, or you got to go in and figure out the weeds for yourself so you can get in there with them.
I think you can.
I don't think it's totally necessary though.
Those personal priorities, because I think it is important to know how does this person fit into, you know, moving the overall company priorities forward. Sitting down with them and working on it together. So for them to help define what are those personal priorities, it'd be, you know, and the hope would be they can simplify the information. They're gonna know, and you guys can work together to figure out, okay, I'm gonna have to trust you a little bit, but what are those 5 priorities? What should they be? What's time-bound, measurable, and specific look like? And I think what you can do as a manager is, you know, what we give this example of somebody in customer service. Somebody might want to write great customer service as their priority, and, you know, I as a leader am able to be like, it's not great customer service, that's not time-bound, measurable, specific. So even though they know more about their department than I do, what I have the ability to do as a leader is really help them make sure that their goals are clearly defined.
Yeah.
And so what does that time-bound, measurable, specific version look like? And so that's, I think, where that collaboration can really come in.
Yep. Yeah, I think you can just get clearer and clearer and clearer. But it's actually a tough question because I work with occasionally I do meetings with a broadband company that is bringing all sorts of very highly technically engineered broadband services, physical contraptions into rural communities. And there are times when a good 3 minutes go by and I have no idea what they're talking about. So I feel you there. But I have to keep bringing it back to the priorities of the organization. What are your priorities? When was that supposed to be done? Did it get done? Hopefully that will give you enough traction to move forward. That's a tough one though. Okay, I said last question. We got to give everybody time to adjust because we obviously don't need to go another 45 minutes. Let's do 2 more questions, and then we've got a little Q&A call with people who are thinking about being Business Made Simple coaches. And so we're going to do that at 11:30 instead of 12. So let's do two more questions, and hopefully everything I just said works out. If not, we'll communicate with you that it'll be a little bit different. But is that okay, Tim?
Yeah,
all right,
great.
2 more questions. Who else we got? Hello, how are you?
Hey everybody. Hey guys, how are you? My name's Chris, the other Chris, I guess.
Yeah.
And Don, I just got done reading your book, so if it's all right, I'd actually like to ask a question based on the book because most of my questions have already been answered. So
I'd love to answer a question based on the book.
Fantastic. I run a social media agency and a lot of my team is remote. They're social media managers that manage client accounts all over the place. And my question that I've been asking since finishing up your book is what are some, I guess, entry-level KPIs that I can implement with my team? We have not been doing KPIs and I don't want to overwhelm them right away. So I'm trying to ease them into KPIs so that these meetings that you're talking about are a great way to hold them accountable to some of those.
Oh, I love that. I love that. And KPIs, there's key performance indicators. We would just call them lead measures. So let me just ask you, do you do social media for a bunch of different clients? Like, do you have 20 clients and you handle their social media? Is that what you do?
Correct. And my account managers do a majority of that work and I am basically above them. So I'm trying to set some KPIs to measure their productivity.
Got it. So, I mean, their bottom line would be how many likes, how many views, how many comments, how many new followers. I mean, that's really what your clients are paying you for. And I would make those the measurable statistics. Now, some of that's always, you know, as people go from IGTVs, Instagram goes from IGTV to Reels, those statistics go all over the place. You know, bottom line though is they probably want 30 or 40 or 70 new Instagram followers every week. You know, so I would set those as bottom line. We need, you know, Jason's Instagram, he only has 1,000 followers. He needs 27 new followers a week. That's the goal. Were we over or under that goal? then I would actually take your director stand-ups or your weekly staff meetings. I would come up with another meeting, and all I would talk about are best practices. So, hey guys, something really great worked for Jason this week. I put a quote card on there, and when you swipe, it's a video where Jason talks about it. We got so many likes. That's a best practice. And everybody, all your people need to go, okay, that's best practice. Let's duplicate that practice on everybody else that we do. So if you were only measuring new followers come because of, say, comments. So there's some sub-lead generator or lead measures there. And then the real thing, though, is best practices, and duplicate those best practices. To me, that's how I might structure the meetings that way. So let's go. We're going to separate those. We're going to have my personal, let's say I've got 5 people handling social media. Each of them have 5 accounts that they're in charge of. I want to meet with them once a week for 15 minutes, and I want to say how many new followers for account 1, 2, 3, 4. What's happening? Keep them accountable. Did we meet expectations? Did we not? Why did we not? Did you implement the best practices that we talked about in the last best practice meeting? Those are the conversations you're having as an individual. Then the big meeting where everybody comes together is all about best practices.
Nice.
I would just run those. I would run those two meetings to run your organization. For now.
Got it.
Is that helpful?
It's very helpful, yes. And I can use those meetings to celebrate success as well. If I do see a team member who's grown an account or met a KPI, make sure to, commemorate them as well. Okay.
Yeah, and then the only other thing that I would warn on that is separate the meetings. In one meetings, we're talking about how we did, whether we met expectations, whether or not our clients' accounts are growing. That's a one-on-one meeting with each of your people. Those would be the equivalent of our personal stand-ups. The other meeting would be, I would plug in the director stand-up. It's a little more guided. I wouldn't do the weekly staff meeting. The director stand-up is all about best practices, right? And so our goal as a company is to, one of the 3 objectives of the company is to average, 2,000 new followers amongst all our accounts every month, or whatever. But you're driving the progress forward. And,
awesome.
And so one is personal accountability on how it's going. The second meeting is creative. What worked? What didn't work? Let's stop doing what doesn't work. Let's double down on what does work. And that's going to change all the time because Instagram changes all the time, and Facebook changes, and LinkedIn changes. So that's a moving target that's just going to be fun to talk to and talk about. And you're always going to be on the front line of that conversation.
Perfect. Thank you so much. That also helps me structure my meetings better. So I appreciate that insight as well.
Yeah, sounds good. The key is even if you have to make a derivative of our worksheet, have a worksheet.
Yeah.
Borrow some of the stuff from us, create your own worksheet. We really like our worksheet. But if it needs to work better for you in a different way, let's do that.
Yeah. And one thing that I am realizing, even through this conversation, it's important for people to hear is when you're creating those priorities, there's some creativity that has to come.
Yeah.
Even for you, you're in the moment trying to come up with, okay, what could this company priority be? And okay, then how can that fold into how the individuals, connect with that? So that is really what a lot of the work as a leader is, to come alongside your team members and help them very clearly define what that priority should be. Because by doing that work, though, now you don't have to struggle each and every day wondering what it is that you should be working on.
Right.
So I love that you take the time.
It takes the mystery
to
out of it.
Focus focus your time around really getting that clear, and I feel like then each and every day is a lot easier to step into because you know where this whole thing is headed. But there is some creativity that's needed in each of those.
Okay. Let's do what I think. Hello, it's good to see you. We know this guy. Let's do one last question. We're going to end on an upbeat. I'll tell you that right now. And then if I've misspoke and we can't do the 11:30 or something, somebody let me know and we'll talk for another 40 minutes. But I think we're probably ready to go. Good to see you. How are you?
Hey, Don. I'm doing super well. How are you guys?
Good. I've thought about you a lot because you talked about you at our last big meeting. You thought, I wasted 10 years of my life in Portland, and I wanted to get up and say, no, it was super important to waste that so that you knew you didn't, so that you knew you wasted it, and now you're moving 3 times as fast. That's a little redemptive perspective on all that. Anyway, tell everybody your name and where you're from.
My name is Michael Ryan, and I'm originally from Portland, Oregon, but my wife and I live just outside Madison, Wisconsin, in a little village called Black Earth now. So that's where we're living these days, out in the Midwest.
Madison, Wisconsin is gorgeous.
It's gorgeous, yeah. And the weather, fall is our favorite season, and the weather here is just like, which is why I'm wearing a sweater and a tweed coat.
It's amazing. I know I'm like hyping cities right now. Madison is
town area.
And then you don't live in a town, Michael. You live in a little village.
Live in the village of Black Earth. Yeah. Yeah.
This just sounds like
on a
you're
little
in
16-acre
Narnia.
homestead out here.
That sounds awesome.
It is a little bit like Narnia. We're battling the woods right now. They're like trying to take over our house. Anyway, that's off topic.
That's a whole
that's where
other
I'm
story.
at.
Yeah, you're gonna have to come back and keep us posted. Michael, what can we help you with management and execution?
Well, I very readily see the need for this in companies for sure. But I actually got super excited, and I was telling Marley this, about using this for my personal life. Like the company is Michael Ryan's life. And Michael's top 3 priorities are, and my goal was to attend this and actually do that kind of for myself afterwards. And I figured maybe somebody else might be thinking along the same lines of actually running their life through this filter.
Yes.
And if either of you had any perspective tips for tailoring it to kind of be specific, like top 3 priorities for the company that is Michael Ryan's life right now.
Well, you know, it's interesting because Hero on a Mission, which you have a copy of the book, and
Totally.
by the way, I rewrote the first chapter, so it's not so hard on myself. I don't want you got to read the new first chapter. It's a lot easier.
It made me feel things I haven't felt in a long time. I'm going to tell you that.
I don't know if that's a good thing, Michael. But that really is the life plan version of this. I will say this though.
Totally.
One of the things that I confess I think is missing from the whole system of the Hero on a Mission life plan system is, you know, every day you talk about the 3 primary tasks that you're going to work on. Tim, there's a little part of me that feels like there should be some other worksheet where you actually list the priorities that you have as a human being, and you choose from that list to go to the 3.
Yeah, like a long list.
And I think that's what, Michael, I think that's what you're seeing in this that's so beneficial. That's giving me a pause because I'm like, oh, we probably should have put it. We're gonna refilm the course anyway, so we'll put that in there. But I think there's ways, and I know that I think it was Carolyn earlier was joking about kids, but it would be sort of interesting to try to implement this with you know, kids and chores and a weekly staff meeting. We're talking about our 3 priorities. And you might get a little clinical. Your kids are going to grow up and make fun of you, but that's okay. They're going to make fun of you anyway. So, you know, maybe. But I'm curious, Tim, anything that you see that this would apply to your personal life?
If you really boil this down to what it is, it's where is this thing headed and how am I making progress? So take all the worksheets away. There's a lot of value in just identifying what you want, where you're headed, and are you making progress? To check in with yourself every quarter and say, am I meeting my own expectations? I'm one who's more interested in how I compete against myself more so than looking at anybody else and trying to compete with them. So as a competitive person, I'm looking at how am I improving? How am I getting better? You know? And then I think the cadence of, hey, every quarter, let me just look at this and make sure that I'm still on track with where these 3 priorities are and should they stay that way or just need to flex and evolve. One thing that we've learned as a company is at that kickoff meeting at the beginning of the year, you may set a vision for the end of the year and realize 6 months in, the vision needs to change. That's okay. That's what businesses are. We're evolving and we're growing.
We've done that.
Yeah.
I mean, we edit those documents all the time. 90% of it stays the same. So we're getting great productivity on that, but we edit it all the time.
That's the way that I think about that for you is just knowing where this is headed and how you're making progress. That feels like the all the goodness of these worksheets in the system. Applying that for yourself, you're getting the basic principles and ask yourselves those questions. Follow some type of framework like this, I think could be really cool. So I don't know how you're going to do a daily director stand-up and a department stand-up and all that with yourself, but
not only that, the quarterly performance review based and your bonus is based on it will be a very interesting self-talk conversation.
I give myself a high five in the mirror every morning.
I just hope you don't get to a point where you disagree with yourself, because that's going to be a really conflicting day.
Do you take 2 chairs and change between them? I don't know.
Yeah,
all right,
I super appreciate it.
Michael, it's been a blast. And by the way, let me just say what Michael's talking about. There's a course inside the platform, if you're new to the platform, called Hero on a Mission. That course is a life plan and daily planner. This is Management and Execution Made Simple. This is our first presentation on it. We are filming a course on management and execution. Tim's the guy who implemented that here in our company. It worked, and we've tried at least 3 different things for the past 5 years that did not work. Yeah. So this actually worked, and we were able to stick with it, and it was really, really fantastic. So Tim, thank you so much for your work in all of that. What do you need to do next? You need to install the system. Install Business Made Simple's Management and Execution Made Simple today. Start installing today. Start with the 3 priorities. Next, move to the weekly staff meeting. Then start bringing in, I think, the daily director meeting after that. Then the hard part, the part that's the big shift in the org, that's easy. The big shift in the organization is going to be those daily department stand-ups, personal stand-ups, and quarterly performance reviews. Yeah. It's the last 3 parts that's really, but get there when you get there. Right now, what are the 3 priorities? Use our worksheet to run the staff meeting. Have that daily director meeting on 3 days at least a week. Everything I just talked about only involves 1 worksheet. Then when that starts going well and you start making movement on that, you want to then do the department stand-ups, personal stand-ups, quarterly performance review. Yeah. And this may be, may be challenging, and you might come up against a roadblock and want to abandon the system. Don't do it. But here's the great news: you don't have to do it by yourself. You can get some help. Yeah, we have coaches at Business Made Simple. If you go to hireacoach.com, who spent time with us learning about the management. In fact, I just talked to them less than a month ago. Management and Execution Made Simple. If you want to install this and you want somebody to help you walk through it, go to hireacoach.com. Enter into a relationship with a business coach who understands our platform, who understands our systems, and it's going to get you really far. It's not $100,000, it's not $80,000, $50,000, it's not $20,000. It's so much easier than that. Just go to hireacoach.com, enter into a relationship with a coach. They're more than happy to talk to you and answer some questions. Get on a Zoom call, figure out if this is the right coach for you. Install Management Execution Made Simple, and your business will thrive because you did it. Business Made Simple has live coaching every single month. Tim, we've covered October. It's awesome. Yeah. It's been so fun. Next month, we'll do a Q&A. This is more of a teaching session. We'll do a short teaching and a Q&A, so bring your questions next month. We love creating this community. Please be super, super safe out there. It looks like COVID numbers are going down. The economy is roaring, and we've got some vendor supply issues. But we're going into the fall. And the fall, it makes us start feeling wonderful, and people are coming. I'm telling you, and if you listen to our podcast, Joshua Dubois, who predicts the future on our podcast, because he does all these surveys through Gauge.ai, said, be ready for next year. Be ready. It's going to be big, and it's going to be good. What would your team look like if you had management and execution installed by January 1? I think it can make a huge, huge difference. You've got the worksheets. You can hire a coach to help you. You can implement this system. It's going to make all the difference. Thanks so much for joining us here at Business Made Simple. We'll see you again next week. If you are considering becoming one of our coaches, I know we've got a Q&A call that we're going to move up, I think, to about 11:30. I hope I'm not speaking out of turn. I see heads nodding yes. I can't wait to talk to you. Make sure you stick around. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks, Don. The COVID numbers are going up, and we're not going into fall at all, but very close. So how'd we go? What do you think? A system that you can implement in your business? I know some of you have been on the chat with me, letting me know how it's going to be adapted in your organization. What are you thinking, Liz?
Yeah, I definitely try that. Yes, I think we definitely can do that. I think we'll adapt it. I mean, a lot of our stuff are very project focused, and it changes from week to week and month to month. But absolutely. I mean, we have regular staff. We have a weekly staff meeting with everybody because we all work remotely, and that works. But actually putting a bit of structure into that, I think, will be great.
Awesome.
Yep.
I love that. And I think what he said about being persistent, but being patient. So not necessarily going the whole hog and next week implementing every single thing and handing out the worksheets and being, this is how we're doing it from this point onwards. But, you know, implementing things slowly and making sure that everybody has buy-in along the way and along the process is really important.
Yeah,
sorry, you go.
I was just going to say, we have weekly staff meetings and we have directors meetings as well, but you know, we sometimes end up with them being a little bit of a wandering generality, and I think having some worksheets and some structure will really help us to make sure that we can go back the following week and say, okay, well, this is what we said we would do, this is what's been done, and this is why bits and pieces didn't get done. What can we do to, you know, unblock it? I think those are very valuable things to have.
Yeah, I feel like my staff meetings at the moment are a parade of busyness. So what have everybody tell me what you've been doing to keep busy? Oh, very good. Not the structure that he was going through. And I think all of the busyness does not link at all to our top 3 priorities. So I was scribbling as he was talking in terms of top 3 priorities, and we will accomplish X by X, because that was really good to start with, because I was like, oh, I don't know what I want to do. Hey, Max, what are you doing?
Hi. So I've got my lockdown dressing gown on, and
Oh,
my little boy's fallen asleep waiting for me.
oh, well, thank you for sticking around. What do you guys do at the moment in terms of staff meetings, and is there anything here you're going to implement?
During lockdown, we don't do staff meetings. But normally, yeah, we do weekly staff meetings. I just do it with my admin team though. I don't, for staff that work less than 3 hours a week, I don't feel like it's, you know, I'd have to pay them for more of their time.
Yeah.
I think the part that I struggle with is figuring out what those KPIs are.
Yeah.
Like I know what I know 2 of the 3 goals of what our business is doing. I mean, I don't know if the financial one is maybe part of the admin team, but not really. And I guess linking the staff that only work a few hours a week to those priorities.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? Yeah.
Yeah. I would think about retention, which is everybody's responsibility, as something that you can prioritize, you know, keeping your attention at a certain percentage, you know, not losing a certain amount of customers or revenue per week or per term or whatever you want to put around it, is something that everyone has buy-in, no matter how much time they're there.
Yeah.
So I think that's important.
Yeah.
And something that everybody doing some work around, okay, if this is going to be our priority, you're in admin, but you're not in it. Like you're like, how does everyone who has different roles within the business, you know, how do you see yourself impacting in on that? And if one of our priorities is, you know, we will retain 80% of our customers, then here's a list of 15 things we can be doing in terms of retention to make sure that that happens.
Okay. Yeah.
I thought the bonus system was interesting though. Hello, you're getting 0% of your salary for your bonus this year. Like, it's so American, isn't it? Rough.
Well, I did think it was very useful that when they talked about those kind of quarterly reports, that if you're not going to get a bonus, or actually you're doing very well, by that point in time, you should already know, and your staff members should already know that there is a problem. Fortunately, never been in that position with my team. But yeah, it's kind of a bit harsh, isn't it? Yeah, not going to get anything.
It reminds me of Christmas Vacation, you know, that movie you watch at Christmas time where Chevy Chase buys a pool and then he doesn't get the Christmas bonus and he has tantrum. I'm not buying a new pool anytime soon. What are you guys thinking about in terms of like the first thing to implement? What's one thing you can take away and go, okay, that's something that I can bring in?
I think working out what those 3 priorities are.
That's exactly what I was going to say.
2022.
Yeah. And then spending some time and putting some time aside to communicate those with your team.
Yeah. Yeah. And I guess linking it back to like daily tasks. You're doing this because it links to this, which links to the priority.
Beautiful. I can see your team meeting already. Big post-it notes, 3 priorities, and, you know, helping them come up with it themselves, steering them in the right direction of creating those 3 priorities, and then, you know, putting the priority in the middle of the post-it note, and everybody goes up with a pen and writes, you know, what are all the tasks around the outside of it that lead us to being able to achieve that.
So it's not, the priorities aren't what we decide. We ask the team to decide. Is that what you mean?
Look, every single decision that's made in my business is my decision, but I make them feel like they came up with it.
Yeah,
that's like my marriage.
I'm like, so how much money should we make? You know, and they have no idea where we're at now.
Yeah.
What is actually possible.
Yeah. But if you say, you know, we need our revenue to increase by 5%, and that's, you know, that's going to hit this target, or that's going to be done by X, Y, and Z. And you can, and like you say to them, it's important for us to increase by 5% because the electricity is going up and the rent's going up and then this is going up. And in order for everyone to stay employed and for us to continue on as we're continuing, this is the target that we need to hit. How are we going to do it?
Mm.
But you can start with a brainstorm of 10 different priorities and let them kind of work them down to one. Right. And then you put them up and you go, this looks good. I'm glad you guys have all really come up with this. This is...
I sort of think for us that we need some big picture priorities, the 3 big things that are actually going to, you know, kind of grow and sustain the business, sustain and then grow the business, I think is the big thing. But because we do discrete projects for things, and delivering those projects on time to a high standard, all of those sorts of things are really key areas. I think we almost need to take those big picture ones and then filter that into what are the priorities for each of the projects. And then it will be, you know, it'll be a measurable thing, it'll be time dependent, and it will be, what was the other thing?
Like the standard of it, like no mistakes and things.
Yeah. So that we would have to have something that, you know, for example, when we put it in the review process, okay, 2 reviews, it doesn't go for a 3rd because it's right the second time.
Yeah.
Just put those sorts of priorities in, and just adapting them. So there would be big picture ones for the company that the directors would be wanting to achieve, but actually for each of the projects, by doing those projects with these 3 things, actually delivers the bigger picture things.
Yeah, nice.
Because it's not like we're making a product per se, we're delivering, you know, almost a consultancy in that sort of sense. So it's slightly different.
Yeah. But I like the idea that you can articulate to the staff, you know, this is where you are and you feed into this and this feeds into where we're going.
Yeah. And also I think it's useful to have those timeframes in place, because sometimes things aren't delivered on time, not because of anything that we've done. It's because our clients have taken 2 weeks to do the review process, or 4 weeks to do the review process, or somebody's left mid-project, so that you need to kind of be identifying those and then be on top of them a little bit more. We do have a problem, I guess, with when we're really, really busy. If somebody goes quiet on a project, that we tend to not push them because we're too busy doing so much else, and then it comes back to bite us basically, because it then lands on our desk at a time we're not expecting it to.
Yeah, with a whole lot of work to be done, I bet.
With a whole lot of work to be done, and a really small team to deliver it on.
Yeah.
And that causes complexities as well. I mean, I think, you know, one of our big priorities is to continue recruiting so that we're not all completely flat chat.
Yeah. Which you are doing, so pat yourself on the back. So you are working towards that.
Oh, yeah, just employed somebody in the UK, so.
Marvelous. Another one.
Another one.
Building the empire.
Quite scary now. I've got to make sure they all stay employed and get money.
Very good.
The other part I struggle is with the consistency. I started, you know, doing worksheets similar to this, but I guess this is part of, it's a nitty gritty thing, but it's really annoying, and it's hard to get into the habit of printing out the sheets because we have no paper in our studio. Everything is digital. And to print out those sheets, A, I had to remember to do it, and then B, what do we do with them once we've filled them out? So I'm wondering, is there a digital system or an app.
So we have a process at the moment where we have the person in the meeting that's taking the notes has the master on the laptop they're working on, and everybody has a part of the worksheet, and we have a big master worksheet, and this is separate to, oh. You wake up.
Hello.
Wake up. Sit here for a minute. Mummy's talking. Okay. Everyone has a different section that they are responsible for. So they don't necessarily print the sheet out themselves, but they know when they turn up to the meeting, they have to report on 5 things or whatever's in their section. And the master is only filled in electronically. So they actually have to present at the meeting. Okay, this is up to this target. This is to this target. This is to this target. And then that is reported on the master, and then the master is saved. So no one's actually printing.
So is that like in a Google Doc?
Yes. Yeah.
Right.
And it just gets added to week on week.
Yeah. Okay.
So that we then go back and look at it before the next meeting. And I go, okay, so who was down and who was up and who didn't do this, so that then I know the questions to ask.
Yeah.
Yeah, we use Asana quite a lot, and I suspect I can probably create those worksheets on Asana to make sure everybody fills them out. Usually what we do is at the end of the week, or I've got a couple part-timers at the end of their part-time break, they kind of give me the project list and where they are on things and what needs to be done. But
I like that idea.
Yeah. So
somebody else likes my face. Wants my attention. 2 minutes. So thank you all for joining me tonight. I'm pretty sure I'm going to have to wrap it up.
You are.
You
there are other things that are more important.
One of my 3 priorities is turning my face.
Yes.
My brother put too much blankets in my bed.
His brother put too many blankets in his bed.
Oh dear.
Thank you all for being here.
So
much appreciated.
Annoying.
It is,
Thanks.
right?
Thanks, Stacey.
No worries. So in December the 16th is going to be our next one of these. Actually, the 16th is the day that they will do it in the States, and we'll do it the following Monday. So I think it's like the 20th. Yeah.
Terrific.
Thank you so much for being here and for being patient with this situation.
It's fine.
Have a lovely night.
Mine are away, doing whatever else. Ellen's practicing dancing or something like that.
Good. So inspired. I love it. All right. Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Bye.